everyone. Welcome to the 29th episode of Tuesdays with Tobe. My name is Tobe Frierson, and I am super excited to be back before you again today with another message. For those of you who have been with me for the last 2 weeks, you know I have been chronicling something called my E to M fitness journey. Those of you who are interested in health and fitness, or maybe even looking for a program to be involved in, those 2 episodes are for you. So go back 2 weeks for me. You don't have to take it from me. Thousands and thousands of people have gotten results on E to M fitness. So feel free to look at those episodes and then also Google the platform as well. Again, E to M fitness. And that's what we talked about for the last 2 weeks. However, let's just kind of do a quick recap of what we've gone over this summer. This summer, I shared with you all a super tough decision that I was trying to make about my motorcycle. I also shared my survival story about where a tree fell on my vehicle and fractured my neck and also caused me to have a head laceration. I then shared with you guys about getting out of the house a little bit. I encouraged you, hey, let's have some summer fun in 2021. And then I shared my E to M fitness journey. Now, it is time for us to detour a little bit. And we're gonna take this detour because I looked at the calendar and students in Savannah, which is where I live, they go back to school in 10 days. And so since we're about to enter into a new school year so quickly, I wanted us to take some time and let's talk about relationships, respect, and reputation. I'll simply call it R&R&R. But before we get into everything today, as we do each week, look behind me and let's say our family rules. During Tuesdays with Tobe, we will use kind words, do your best, always be honest, forgive and forget, be happy, count your blessings, laugh at yourself, stay positive, and love one another. As we reflect on R&R&R, relationships, respect, and reputation, take a moment and let's consider whether or not you feel like you have healthy relationships. If so, what do you think makes them healthy? And do you exhibit respect in your interactions? That's with people who are above you and then also with your peers. And for the most part, can you say that you feel valued and respected? Lastly, please ponder, what's your reputation? Just so you know, in many instances, our reputation is actually other people's perception of us. It's not actually what we think of ourselves. So think about it as your brand, if you will. Do you know what your brand is? Over the next few moments, let's discuss how to build and establish solid relationships, how to exhibit and demand respect, and ultimately how to have a rock solid brand. Essentially, that reputation that's going to get you the interview, the callback, the job offer, but most importantly, that brand, that reputation is going to get you all the benefit of the doubt every single time. And sometimes we underestimate the value of people giving us the benefit of the doubt. It's super important. All right, so let's hop into relationships. And I want you all to listen in closely because if you do these things, not only can you establish strong relationships, but they can actually last. So number 1 for relationships, self-knowledge. You all, before we enter into relationships with anyone or anything, we've got to know a little bit about ourselves. You have to know who you are. You have to know what your values are as well. And you've got to know a little bit about what you're good at and what makes you happy. That is baseline with relationships. Number 2, we also have to know what we don't know. I'll be honest with you, I grew up a little bit sheltered. And if you're anything like me, and figuring out what you don't know, that's a moment, you all, where it's okay to be a little bit more quiet in the room. So know what you don't know. Don't go into a space and overspeak when you're clearly out of your league. You don't know what's going on. It's okay to draw back a little bit and learn how to listen. Do way more listening than you're doing talking in those instances where you kind of really don't know what's going on. And that's okay not to know. Number 3, know where you're willing to take a risk and know when and where you're willing to be vulnerable. That's very, very important when establishing relationships. And number 4, you got to learn how to find common ground. It is very, very difficult to establish a relationship with someone if you can't find any commonalities at all. So those are the 4 things that we're going to do when we talk about relationships. Let's move right into respect. Number 1, in order for you all to give respect to each individual that you encounter, you first have to assume positive intentions. We come in sometimes with that guard so far up. I mean, there's just like a gate up, and I'm not sure why we're so guarded, but it is very, very hard to gain respect, to earn respect, to give respect if this is what your mode is. So let's come in assuming positive intentions first. Free yourself of continuing to think that everybody's out to get you, that there's some agenda against you. Free yourself of that. They're really not. You've got to train yourself not to have your guard up, and you're going to find that people will absolutely respect you. They're going to see your hard work. They're going to see your good intentions, and that respect's just going to come. So assume positive intentions. That's number one. Number two, embrace possible embarrassment. There may be times when people feel like they can create a scene with us. People may come in, they may call us outside of our names. They may have elevated voices. They may just conjure something up and start spreading untruths or whatever. In those instances, you are absolutely 100% being tested. And what is important for you in that instance is to not elevate where that person is. Don't give them the same energy that they're giving you. And that will absolutely, and sometimes that is embarrassing, but that's absolutely going to show your true character, and it's also going to show your maturity level as well. So embrace possible embarrassment when you're trying to gain respect. And then also, number three, respect doesn't mean that you always agree. Challenge each other's ideas in a constructive way. Have the courage to speak up, have the courage to correct, and then when necessary, have the courage to change your course of actions or change your mind about a thing or change your decision about a thing because you've taken in information and now you have a better idea of what's going on. That is going to gain you a lot of respect. Now that we've got some baseline ideas about your relationships and about respect, now we need to bring this thing home and talk about your reputation. And unfortunately, as I kind of list out, I think I've got 4 things under reputation. The first one is not great news. And number one for reputation, our reputations are not 100% in our control. They're just not. And that's because, remember what I mentioned earlier about perception being your reality? Well, we can do things to build our character. You can be careful and consistent with your interactions, but ultimately, we have no control how people are experiencing us. You have no control how someone is experiencing you. You know what you think you're saying. You know what you think you're doing. You know your good intentions, but there's someone on the receiving end of all of that. And that is actually how someone says what they experienced or who you are. It's based off of what they say, not necessarily what you did. Now, there's a way to mitigate this, or there's a way to kind of maneuver this, and that is to have really good people around you. You need to have a key person around you who can see you interacting with people, who can give you thoughts, ideas, what they've witnessed, what they've experienced. And if they're honest with you, that can kind of help you out a little bit to know, like, so what is my brand? What are people saying about me? What do they think about me? So that's number one. Our reputations are not 100% in our control. Number two, a good reputation facilitates engagement. What do I mean by that? Well, as we talk about this whole idea of relationship building, if you have a good reputation, you won't have to seek out people or opportunities. Those things are probably going to come to you. Now, on the flip side of that, if you have a bad reputation or if it's misconstrued or skewed in some type of way, you may be at an automatic disadvantage because someone's going to go off of the thing that they heard or the thing that they thought about you as opposed to who you are. So that's why this stuff is so important, you all. That reputation, that brand is so important. Number three, our reputations amplify themselves. They absolutely amplify, they reverberate. Your reputation is not just what the current people in your life use to form an opinion about you, but it's what people who don't even know you may hear about you. And that is so, so important. That may either get you the opportunity, get you the job, get you the interview, or that might close the door on the opportunity if it's not such a good thing that they've heard about you. That might close the door before you even submit a resume or before you're even offered an interview. And so our reputations amplify themselves. And then number four, a good reputation can cover your bad moments. This is just wonderful news. A good reputation can cover your bad moments. Let's face it. We're all going to have bad days. We make mistakes all the time, poor judgment calls. However, as long as you have a rock solid reputation and people have a good opinion of you to start with, even in some of your lowest moments, even in some of your most embarrassing moments, there can still be redemption. So you just have to be willing to be vulnerable and honest about your mistakes and mishaps, and your leaders are probably going to be more than happy to cover you in these bad moments. Students or children, this works with parents as well. If your parents know that you're not accustomed to getting into things, like this is completely unlike you, they're probably not going to throw the book at you the first time you do something that's not so wise. Probably not at all. This stuff can work in a lot of different arenas. So as we prepare for a new school year in just 10 days, and I still cannot believe it's 10 days, it was my goal today for us to focus on this whole idea of R and R and R, to give you some tips that will ultimately help you become strong leaders with positive attitudes that provide excellent customer service to everyone you encounter. I also want you all to become mentors and motivators to the people that you serve, and I want all of us to seek success in all that we do. I wish you all the best as you prepare for a new school year, and I hope that you really take advantage of the ideas that I shared regarding relationships, respect, and our reputations. If we get these things right, we're going to be setting ourselves up for a phenomenal school year. And after all the COVID and after everything we've been through, we all want success, right? We want to go in this year. We want to go in 10 days and rock this thing out. Thank you all for listening today. I hope you like, share, and subscribe. And R and R and R, relationships, respect, and reputation. I'll see you guys back here next week. Have a good night.